All right, I'm back. Alex is self-quarantining in her room because she came here straight from California, and so she wanted something to eat. Let's see, how's that focus working? Not great. I wonder why. Okay, so let me show you something real quick here about our discipline, and let me see if I can make that work a little better. All right, well, hopefully that'll work. All right, and this is from last semester. I co-taught the Intro Women's Studies class with Dr. Lowry, one of Alex's favorite teachers. And economics majors are 3-to-1 male. Women peaked in the 90s, I forgot my other parentheses, and fell ever since. Women PhD, 31%, and hasn't risen in 20 years. And full professors, 14%. All right, so this is just some background statistics on women in economics. Now, there was that was for the Women's Studies class. There was a committee put together to figure out what the heck's going on. The Committee for the Status of Women in the Economics Profession. And what they decided was a couple of things here that I personally don't agree with. But is, well, hey, first of all, oh gosh, the problem is women just care too much about grades. Guys are happy with earning a C. Zoom back out a little bit again. Whereas women, when they don't get a high grade in the intro econ class, are disappointed. Now, I can't help but think that that's us patting ourselves on the back about how difficult we are, So, well, we're awful tough, and you're just not going to get a good grade in our class. And yeah, women just don't want to get things wrong. They don't want to walk around being a B- student. They want to find something to be an A student in. Meanwhile, and something where the professor will pat them on the back and say, you're doing so well. This is from a woman, by the way, all right? So, but I have to say that I still find elements of sort of gender bias in the explanation of why we have this disproportionate number of men in economics and from women. Then the importance of female role models, gender differences, that there are no women professors is one of the other arguments. And there's too much math is one of the other arguments. That why we don't have any women majors and no women economists. Yes, and that women may be inherently less interested in economics, all right? These may be the problems. That they care too much about grades, there are no women role models, too much math, and women aren't interested in economics. Now, in this, see, is at the end? Yeah. In this Continuing Perspectives class, I have to tell you that what the institutionalist view would be, that no. The stuff you're teaching in the intro classes, the neoclassical stuff, just doesn't ring true. That basically what it says is that, with a few exceptions here and there, you earn what you deserve. So if you are a woman or a person of color, you don't end up majoring in economics because you earn what you deserve. And so something that has not occurred to the economics discipline is that the problem might be the theory itself. They're assuming that the problem is the women. They care too much about grades. They don't have any role models. They don't want to do it. Or there's too much math. By the way, the natural sciences haven't had the problem we've had. All right, there are many women majors there. They have had a big increase because it was true for many years that there was a self-fulfilling prophecy at the sort of primary school and high school level that, little Susie is having trouble in math. Well, that's okay, Susie, here, go read a book. Little Jimmy's having trouble in math. Well, gosh, we better help little Jimmy because little Jimmy is going to need to know how to use this math later on. And I want to show you one more thing here that might be indicative of how women are treated in economics. And I'm sorry, I thought that was already, here it is, perfect. It's right here. Okay. This has been a huge issue just in the last couple of years, all right? So we already have the potential issue of, and again, this is my interpretation here, that the economics discipline is blaming women for the fact that there aren't many women economists, rather than looking at the core theory. Well, there's also some evidence of misogyny in economics, right? Now, you already know this. I showed you this already. And big deal. She was a Harvard undergrad and wrote this paper for a class. And what she did was, she did one of these This paper examines whether people in academia portray and judge women and men differently in everyday conversations that take place online. I combine the methods from text mining, machine learning, and econometrics. Oh, sorry, that thing was making noise. To study the existence and extent of gender stereotyping on the Job Market Rumors Forum. Now, the Economics Job Market Rumors Forum is a place where budding PhDs can go in and talk about getting jobs. But, well, I'll talk about the drawbacks in a minute. And I find that the discourse tends to become significantly less academic or professionally oriented the more personal information and physical appearance when women are mentioned. The words with the strongest predictive power on gender provide a direct look at the gender stereotyping language. Here, let me just show you what she found. And what she was after was, what words tended to be more associated with men than women, all right? So, hotter was highly more likely to be talked about when people on that forum were talking about women. They were far more likely to use the word hotter, hot, attractive, pregnant, gorgeous, yeah, down there. Whereas with men, clearly the first two are, making fun of, but philosopher, keen, motivated. I have no idea what feekers means. Anyway, slides, Nordic, filling, and textbook. So those are the words most associated with men. Pardon me. And she found this problematic. Now, the criticisms were that, hey, it's not a peer-reviewed article, that Job Market Rumors is not anyone can post there. It's not just people that are getting their PhDs, and you attract a certain kind of person on anonymous forums, right? And to which she said, I know, this was a senior thesis, but unfortunately, it's consistent with other things that we find in the economics discipline and in the society, broader society in general. Also, here's another thing. In 7 leading introductory econ textbooks, 77% of the real and imagined people mentioned were male, often in relation to business or policy. And most of the 18% of female mentions were related to food, fashion, or household tasks. Only 11 women across all 7 books were mentioned as business leaders. Right? Again, these subtle things, right? Now, this was from just this time, well, gosh, almost exactly this time last year, after the American Economic Association meeting. There was a big session on how rampant sexual assault and bias was taking place in the discipline. Nearly 100 female economists say their peer or colleague has sexually assaulted them. Nearly 200 said they were the victim of an attempted assault, and on and on and on. Ain't none of this real good. And likewise, alienation not limited to women. Among black economists surveyed, only 14% agreed with the statement, people of my race, ethnicity are respected in the field. So, yeah, that's all of that. There is more, and this is something that was pointed out in Chapter 2, right? Way back in Chapter 2, when it tried to explain how science works, scientists are people. And scientists are affected by the larger culture, and the larger culture can be affected by science. But the basic idea here being that we have the same problems in economics, although I think magnified because of the self-selection bias that takes place in the intro classes based on what the underlying theory is, that the rest of the society does. And now, all right, so let's finish off the study questions here on feminist economics. We've got a couple of big ones still to go. And the next one here that we haven't talked about is that feminist economists argue that the very tools of modern neoclassical economics are rooted in processes that reflect the social conception of maleness. Things like competition, exploit, and survival of the fittest, ideas that we use in economics classes, are really highly biased towards male concepts. And that this just becomes one of the many ways that we teach that masculinity is superior to femininity. All right, so that's kind of the basic introduction. And let me slide up here and show you. Good Lord, the dog has leaves all over him. I don't know what he just did. So study questions 116 through 120 are just sort of setting up the introduction of what's feminist economics all about. After that, what we're going to have is, here is a neoclassical approach to feminist economics, or actually to gender economics. Here's a counterattack. Here's a Marxist one. And then here's institutionalist, 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 and that's it. So these from 121 to 125 are specific school of thought approaches to the question. Okay, so let's start with 121. And I mentioned Gary Becker in the lectures on institutionalism in talking about how he said that the market would destroy racism. Well, on this one here, what he's saying is, this is from a famous book of his. It's cited in the textbook, but I can't remember what the name of the book was. But he says, why is it that women, and this is from a very neoclassical approach, that women earn less than men? And he decides there's very rational, objective reasons for it, okay? And what he says is that the outcome that women earn less than men is consistent with, okay, then you're going to want to pause the video here and write this one down. I usually just write this one on the board in class. I know it's from the book, but I guess it makes it a little easier. And I'm going to have a tough time reading that from here. Then we'll get my glasses. They're just in this room right here. The monitor is too far away for me to read that study question. Ah, I moved them. Okay, I found my glasses. Slide this back up through here. And usually in class I have my contacts in, so. All right, now I can read it again. Now if I can only find where I dropped the notes. I think I dropped them on the floor right here. Yeah, this is it. Okay. Again, this is a neoclassical approach to this question of how women are treated. That noise you hear right now is the dog ripping apart a sheet of paper. He argues that, and you want to pause here and write this stuff down. He argues that this outcome is consistent with A, increasing returns to investments in human capital, B, women having the greater responsibility for child rearing and home maintenance, and C, the fact that child rearing and home maintenance are more tiring than leisure. Now, okay, so the first one is saying, look, the longer you work at a particular job, the more money you're going to make at it. You're going to raise your productivity and raise your wage. The second and third say women aren't going to have much of a chance to get experience in jobs. If men get to choose only between labor and leisure, while women have the added responsibility of home maintenance and child rearing, then the women are going to have less energy for any market work they undertake. So the bottom line being that women earn less because the fact that they also have to do the home maintenance stuff means that they're all tired out and don't get to sort of increase their marketability by experiencing job, market work. And now, this was counterattacked by feminist economists, and that's on 122. In fact, on the feminist economist who read the chapter for me was like, what is Gary Becker doing in your chapter? He's not a feminist economist. I was like, oh, I know he's not. I said, but he's there as a foil. He's there as someone to whom the feminist economists are reacting, and so I want to show what their reaction is. And so, they say, Gary Becker, you're full of it, that one, these are the criticisms. Becker's approach uses circular logic in that it uses women's relative specialization in unpaid work as both evidence and consequence of comparative advantage. Let me explain that. Women are doing unpaid work because they're better at it. How do you know they're better at it? Well, because they're doing it. Well, then you really haven't given an independent explanation of what's going on. You're just saying that, and this is what they're arguing, you can't say they must be better at it because that's why they're doing it. Well, how can you tell? Well, because they're doing it. Well, then this is just circular logic. And look back at the answer again. Oh yeah, once again, you want to pause here and write all this down. In the sense that women's relative specialization in unpaid work is evidence of their comparative advantage and consequence of their comparative advantage. Second, and I think this one's really powerful here, the explanation is premised on the idea that all agents have an equal say in how household resources are managed, that everyone is truly free to choose. And because of that, the consequent allocations must be optimal. If they weren't, people wouldn't have selected them. Critics have openly suggested that this is a result of an arrogant male belief that if they are happy, then the arrangement must be fair. All right, so in other words, Becker, when he writes this book and he talks about this, he implies that women had a full voice in making this choice. Gee, honey, I'd rather stay home with the kids, which is certainly possible, all right? But the idea that women have had an equal voice in this is very suspect, particularly in earlier decades and centuries. So that's what they're arguing. And then third and last, one last criticism raised from within neoclassicism is that the Becker approach discounts the possibility that homework is marketable. Surely the ability to cook, clean, raise children, and otherwise manage a household is something that could be translated into income. Indeed, there are market equivalents of all these tasks. So they come back at him and say, look, A, there's no reason to believe that the women actually freely chose this, so that it is not necessarily an optimal relationship based on inherent comparative advantages, that in fact, it's an arrangement based on the idea that the man doesn't have to do as much work. And furthermore, the idea that they're not getting any work experience is not entirely evident, because everything that these women in the traditional household roles are doing, there is a market equivalent for them. However, typically, things that women do, we discount and don't pay as much for it. All right. Next one, Marxist. Okay, so that was the, here's a neoclassical idea and then a counterattack from the feminists, because it's certainly not a feminist economics explanation in 121. As I already mentioned to you, perhaps surprisingly, Marxist economics is not necessarily easily modified to accommodate a feminist version. This is so because, and this is the thing about Marx really based it all on, if you're working, you can be exploited. But if you're not working, there's no role for it. Now, that doesn't mean that you can't find a way to use Marxism to explain feminist economics, as I already showed you on the slides. But what it does mean is that it doesn't work quite as neatly as one might think. Now, institutionalism fits quite well. And there are a number of institutionalist feminist economists, including going back to Thorstein Veblen. And the next one here is, the inferiority of women in our society has its roots where? I'm going to let you read the chapter, of course, but this, according to the institutionalist dichotomy, is what sort of value? Well, it's a ceremonial value, all right? And what's it creating? An invidious distinction. That there is no underlying logic that women should have to, there are some things that are quite natural. Men are stronger than women. They have more upper body strength. And there is some question as to whether or not that is the origin of the unequal distribution of power. That even though today, you still get a lot of abuse, don't you? So anyway, the fact that men are stronger it has sort of traced back to Veblen in that 1898-99 article. Now let's see. There's a difference between how women in male jobs are viewed versus men in women's jobs. How? Okay. Have you ever seen, and perhaps you have, but I've been at TCU for 33 years, I've never seen a male administrative assistant. And there's no reason why a man shouldn't be an administrative assistant. In fact, one of the things I learned in that women's studies class last semester was that at one point, administrative assistant was a high-paying job with benefits. That was done by men, all right? And I don't know what the evolutionary process was that meant that that wasn't true anymore, but it's not true anymore. But wouldn't you, maybe you're a better person than me, but wouldn't you, if you saw a male administrative assistant, be initially taken aback? Like, oh, that's interesting. And start to wonder to yourself, why did that person take this job? And that's part of the way we are socialized. When we see a man in a woman's job, then we wonder what the heck's going on and what's wrong with them. When we see a woman in a man's job, then we say, oh, good for you. Good for you. Well done. You're successful. All right, I'm going to leave the next one entirely to you. It's from that Thorstein Veblen article that I've already mentioned to you. Then on 127, according to Feminist Economics, what is every bit as important as lowering unemployment and inflation? Empowering people. That's what it's about. To have the power to determine your fate as much as one can, For example, right now, we are all stuck inside. And, oh yeah, according to the feminist economists, mainstream economics preference for the use of tools that are difficult to master is really a function of what? So remember, I've said a couple of times throughout the semester that one of the mainstream arguments about other schools of thought is, well, you just don't understand the math. You're not smart enough to figure out the math, so you're doing this other school of thought. Well, to the feminist economists, that whole I know math and you don't is really a function of male competitiveness. I'm smarter than you, and that we're in competition with each other. Now, the next piece is quite easy to read. Let's see. Here's the last feminist stuff. I tried to have at least something on the financial crisis with every school of thought. And here is a feminist look at the impact of the financial crisis. It is Critical Perspectives on Financial and Economic Crises, Heterodox Macroeconomics Meets Feminist Economics. And I'm looking at the answers here. They're really pretty straightforward. Yeah, no, you can work all that out yourself. And that's a good article to read. That's really interesting. Okay, so that was feminist economics. Now we only have one school of thought left. So I will probably, in the time this morning, go ahead and do that one too and be done with all my lectures. And then I can focus on, I got a paper I got to finish. So anyway, may the force be with you.